a lot of lessons that people had learned and applied before modern technology have in fact the solutions to some of the most profound problems that we have created for ourselves. And so the whole notion of using human waste to replenish through biogas, through nutrients, and through all of the things that we thought we could simply flush away with clean drinking water, and it would cease to be a problem anymore, created a new set of problems that we're having to resolve. And I was particularly impressed by Jason's insight that having leapfrogged the era of the landline in telecommunications to mobile technology and everything that means for interaction and communication, so Africa might well leapfrog the Industrial Revolution with all of the devastation that it brought in so many ways into the sustainability revolution. I thought that was a very interesting concept because Africa has leapfrogged the era of landline communication. It never came to sub-Saharan Africa in any extensive way. And today, out of Africa, especially places like Kenya and Uganda, are coming the most extraordinary applications for education, for healthcare, and a range of other government functions that are based on mobile because the alternative is not there. And in countries where the alternative is there, often that migration to the extraordinary potential of mobile has been much slower. And equally, I think Africa will show the world that it is an entirely false dichotomy to say you can only either go for green or go for growth. It's an entirely false dichotomy to say the choice is green or growth. If you're stuck in the ways of the past, that may be a choice if you see the trajectory as a continuation of industrialization of the past. If you make the mind shift that we have to make, green becomes growth. And that is why we talk about the green economy. And that is why we talk about building a manufacturing sector based on the green economy and the needs of the future. And so I was particularly interested in that theme and spent a little bit of time last night reading the wonderful books and literature we had. I also wanted to pick up the theme that Belinda Walker raised on what do cities do. Now, it's absolutely true that in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, cities provide all of the basic things that human beings cannot be expected to provide for themselves, like electricity reticulation systems, like water purification systems, like sewerage systems, like road networks and public transport. And where that stops and the responsibility of individuals begins is a major question. Is it the role of a government to provide everyone with a toilet? Is it the role of a government to provide everybody with a geyser? These are major questions that need to arise because one has to talk about the alternative pressures on a budget and what the role of the government is and what the role of individuals and individual families and communities may be. But leaving that aside, I understand the core role of cities to be to link individuals with the national economy and to link the national economy with the global economy. And therefore cities and provinces and regions, but cities are much more important than provinces. Cities who understand the role of green and the compatibility between green and economic growth and don't see it as a contradiction are going to play a leading role in ensuring that citizens make the crucial choices that we need to make to reduce our carbon footprint at the same time as finding ways in which, and pioneering ways in which, to grow the economy through green investments. And I'm delighted to say that Cape Town has visionary political leaders and visionary officials who understand precisely what we're talking about when we talk about the green economy, and they understand how to make green integral to growth. because our number one priority in this province and in South Africa has to be growth and jobs. I was fascinated to read on page 6 of the Cape Times that wind is now the cheapest form of electricity generation, with an average price of 89 cents a kilowatt hour compared to 97 cents per kilowatt hour for Eskom's new coal-fired power stations. And this comes from Mr. Roger Price, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Wind Lab, an international wind energy company that is investing in wind energy in South Africa. And he says it's a false comparison to compare the cost of generating wind energy with the old coal-fired power plants, because their capital costs have been paid off. He said what you need to do is add the new ones, like Medupi and Kusile, and then average that out and see just how expensive it is. And in the context of Eskom's recent announcement that they're going to increase the price of electricity 16% per year, I think it was for 3 or 4 years, 5 years, I didn't want to make things sound worse than they actually are. This particular gentleman, Mr. Price, who has a very fortuitous name, Mr. Price said the cost of wind energy is far more competitive and increasingly becoming so. And he says it won't be long before we can have wind as a base load. Then he attacks this myth that I've also heard often before, that you can't use wind as a base load for electricity because wind blows erratically. Today you would think that the wind never blows in Cape Town. Yesterday you could hardly stand on your feet outside. And we do know about erratic wind, but he says that's not a problem because the wind is always blowing somewhere in South Africa. The wind is always blowing somewhere in South Africa. And he says when you look at a wind map and you see the strategic locations of all the places that wind is blowing, you will see that there is never a time when wind isn't blowing somewhere. And he believes that it is enough wind to provide and to sustain 25% of the grid's capacity without any strain. So he says it's a complete myth to believe that wind can't be used as a base load. We all know about our glorious sunshine, and I was amazed when I was in Germany recently. They think they've got wind, and then you try not to laugh or look patronizing. It's a tiny little breeze that lets the leaves rustle now and again. And they also think that they've got sun, and you say yes when it's not entirely overcast. But they've done amazing things with harnessing that really minute amount of natural energy. I went to a little village called Veldheim. Now it is a small village, but they've taken themselves entirely off the electricity grid. The entire base load of that town is powered by wind turbines and by solar energy, of which they have a huge lot less than we do in any of those areas. So I thought this was a fascinating article. And I think much sooner than any of us expect, we will find that green energies are highly competitive. And that is why we have to make sure that they can compete from here. And that is why the role of Cape Town is to ensure that we are ready, preemptively ready for that. And that is why Cape Town is looking at a green hub and a green industrial hub around the entire area of Atlantis, running up in the new industrial development zone around Saldanha, so that we can be at the forefront of manufacturing the technology required to harvest green energy sources and in generating them and in reticulating them. And Alderman Walker has a very crucial role to play in that, because Alderman Walker is the MACO member for Economic, Developmental and Environmental Planning. And you will see that for the very first time, Cape Town has understood that you can't have separate planning lines for the environment, for development, and for economic growth. They have to come together. Otherwise, you end up with an unresolvable tension between them, between the developers and the environmentalists. And I must say that there is always that tension, But we have to understand that unless development happens, we won't have jobs. And unless development is environmentally sustainable, we will undermine what we think is progress, and we will create more problems than we resolve. So all of those things have to come together. But every planner in this room knows how frustrated I get by the obstacles that I believe that planning often puts in the way of progress. And it doesn't help knowing all the things that we know if we can't act on them and can't get ahead of the wave. We know that we have the very best potential sources of wind, sun, and wave energy in the world. We've got what I call the oil wells of the green economy, right here. We've got abundant natural gas, which is much more environmentally friendly, and it's offshore, it's not under the Karoo, so let's not start a big fight about that. It's offshore, and we can use enormous amounts of that and get a much bigger component of that into our base load. But if we're going to do that, we've got to see that that's necessary. We've got to release the land, we've got to get it zoned properly, we've got to make the environment attractive to investors, we've got to make them think that we want them because we do, and we have to remove every single bit of red tape that we possibly can to make that possible. And every planner must understand that they have a nice, comfortable job, but when they sit behind their desk, they've got to think of the hundreds of jobs that become possible with green development and make it happen.